2023, I directed the clerk to circulate to all members the revised members' rules for the members' restaurant. I now instruct the clerk to publish the rules and instruct alongside the clerk of the Senate and the Director General to ensure they are enforced. I also urge all members to observe the said rules, particularly Rule number 3, seating restrictions, Rule number 4, admissions of visitors, Rule number 5, dress code, Rule number 6, conduct of members, and Rule number 7, conduct of visitors. In conclusion, honorable members, as we embark on the legislative agenda of the National Assembly, for the third session, I urge you all to carry out the sacrosanct duty of being representatives of the people with all dedication. I also wish you success individually as members and collectively as a House as you carry out this noble national duty for the welfare of our people. And I truly wish that from now on we'll have no quorum hitch at the beginning of every session of the House. I thank you. Members at the bar, take your seats. Hold your horses, Senior Counsel. Take your seats, honorable members. Order. Freeze where you are, those who are in the walkway. Order, honorable members. Order. The Honorable Jeho. Is it Jeho? Odugon. Odugon. I'm sure by now you know when the speaker is on his feet or her feet, there's no walking around by members. You freeze where you are. Honorable members have a short communication to recognize a visiting delegation from the National Assembly of Zambia. Honorable members, I wish to introduce to you a delegation from the National Assembly of Zambia, comprising of the first Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Chisangano Malungo, MP, the second Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Moyo Moses Frank, MP. Honorable members, the delegation is accompanied by 6 officers of the National Assembly of Zambia, led by the Deputy Clerk, Mr. Stephen Kawimbe. The delegation is in the country on a study visit to benchmark on the mental health practices and policies that the Parliament of Kenya has put in place for members and staff. The delegation seeks to learn ways of addressing systemic challenges and mitigation measures on mental health at the workplace. Honourable members, on my behalf and that of the Assembly, I welcome them to the House of Parliament and wish them fruitful engagements during their stay. I thank you. Yes, Honorable Senior Counsel Otienda Mola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as the other members make their way to the chamber, I rise under Standing Order number 1, as read with Standing Order number 29. If the Honorable Wamboka Wanami will take his seat, I will prosecute my point shortly. Mr. Speaker, under Standing Order number 1, it gives you discretion to give direction on any matter not expressly provided for. Under Standing Order number 29, it allows a member or members to request the leader of majority and or the leader of minority for a special sitting. Mr. Speaker, as you may recall, a significant number of members, totaling 41, did request a special sitting to discuss the very important matter of non-disbursement of CDF funds in this country. Mr. Speaker, that communication issued on 1st of February and was duly copied to your office. Mr. Speaker, we have today resumed our regular sittings, but without a response or directions on that request. So the first point of direction, Mr. Speaker, is for you to guide where members who themselves are the one to sit request a special sitting and it is not constituted. How should that request be treated? Mr. Speaker, secondly, your direction on another important thing. On the 5th of December 2023, Mr. Speaker, at the continued push by members, you did issue communication, having been given information that the funds would be disbursed before the end of December. That was on 5th of December. It now appears, Mr. Speaker, that the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury may have misled our Speaker. Where a Cabinet Secretary who is answerable to this House misleads the leader of this House, how should we treat that? Mr. Speaker, I know that we are yet to constitute the House Business Committee. But, Mr. Speaker, this is an important matter where we need direction, because the directions that we are given or we take may well constitute our consideration of whether the House Business Committee as proposed is appropriate or not. Mr. Speaker, with respect, I do not imagine what other businesses we can be discussing when Kenyans are at home, students are at home, because we've not disbursed those funds. Mr. Speaker, without that, I think this sitting should be suspended until further notice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Honorable Otienda Amolo, Senior Counsel, you have a legitimate point, but your prescription is unnecessarily drastic. We can resolve the issue without suspending our sitting, particularly on day one, when we want, in fact, to facilitate you to move the motion if you wish for members to debate. Number one, the letter you wrote, you addressed to the majority leader and the minority leader, only copied to Mr. Speaker. And it's those two leaders who would have then motioned the Speaker to call for a special sitting. None of them did. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. So it is not within the Speaker's competence to call for a special sitting. It's within the Speaker's competence to convene a special sitting when he has been motioned by a member, and it's the leadership. But it's now water under the bridge. We are sitting anyway. So we can allocate you time at an appropriate time, not today, so that you can discuss this important issue. Today being the first day, order CNN, I'm sure you know the standing orders. Today being the first day, we don't have a House Business Committee. So there is no business that has been approved and designated to be transacted. Understanding order number one, today after we've cleared the motion on House business, I will only exercise my discretion to allow the woman rep for Elgeyo Marakwet to make a statement on the tragedy that befell one of our most rising athletic stars. It will be a very short statement. I have approved it for the CDF issue. Tomorrow, if you wish, you can file a motion of adjournment, and I'll give you time to debate. But before we do that, I think we will allow the majority leader tomorrow to bring a statement on the issue of disbursement of CDF. I did see a letter written to Mr. Speaker from the Treasury, and I passed it on to the clerk, detailing how the Treasury intends to disburse your CDF and conclude before the next financial year like they did last year. As to the timings, it's administrative, and I'll leave it to the majority leader, who is your interface with the government, to handle and report to the House tomorrow morning. It's so directed. Yes, Wangari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I rise to just seek your clarification on the communication that you gave, especially on the lapse of business. Yes. And this is specific to questions, yes, being that this is a new model where we have the cabinet secretaries come here and answer questions. And my question and clarification, Mr. Speaker, is that what happens if you file a question and there is no other interest? And I say that because I filed a question to the Cabinet Secretary for Gender, Culture and Arts in April last year. But there has been no other member interested to warrant the CS to come. Why would I be disenfranchised as a member because I was queuing to actually kill that business, yet it was not responded to? I would like your clarification on that, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Majority Leader, you've heard what the Honorable Member for Gilgil has said, that in bringing ministers to this House, it matters not how many questions have been filed. I think give each dog an opportunity to have a bite. So bring ministers regardless of the number of questions, so that each minister can come and face the House, and supplementaries may arise therefrom. So that, of course, priority goes to those with heavy questions and many questions, but even those with one question, like Wangari's question, you can edge them in for 10, 15 minutes, they finish, then you go to the ones with more questions. Yes, Junet, you have a point of order? Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I am guided fully by your direction on the earlier matter of the CDF.
Yes.
But Mr. Speaker, you are also right that we need to have the House Business Committee so that we get into motion,
yes,
so that we can do business of the House. But Mr. Speaker, the fear of the members is that, if I may bring it to your attention, is that once House gets into business as supposed to be, the executive will not honor their word, they will not keep their word, it will be business as usual. And some of the reasons why the members are raising this matter ahead of the constitution of the House Business Committee is actually to paralyze the House, so that members can get their CDF in time and money can be released to those accounts, Mr. Speaker. So I don't know, Mr. Speaker, how those fears will be allayed. Because if we go back into business as required, because this is the first day of our meeting, of our sitting, then it will be business as usual also for the Treasury Minister. And you will assume that Parliament now is sitting normal. What is this message that we can send to him, that we are serious on this matter and will not relent, Mr. Speaker? And one of the things that members have agreed upon to be as a whip that I can bring to attention is to paralyze the House once and for all, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, don't allow the House business motion to be moved until money is released to the account of the CDF, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Junet, you know one of the most important strategic thinking components is you must choose your battles very carefully. If you want to do what you're saying you want to do, paralyze a properly constituted House. There's no point paralyzing a House that is not a House yet. Because if you do that, even if you want to frog march the minister here, to flog him and grill him and do whatever you want with him, he cannot come because you will not be properly constituted. So choose your battles very carefully. So what I have a letter which I'll share with the majority